So, to understand what I'm talking about, you have to think about things from one of a few different perspectives. You have to come at it from a certain angle. And so, kind of like picture within a picture, um, what it is essentially the framework of reality. It's the cosmic mind experienced by the human individual. And so when you look among different people who have had an experience like this or this experience, you get to a question. So looking back, I think that it's the same experience for everyone. But just like someone sees what they see when they look at the color red versus what you see when you look at the color red is completely different. And so for some, it happens in a certain way, and some it happens in another way. But at its core, it's the exact same experience. And so when it happens, it changes a person's life. Really, it does, because it's just something that's right in your face and just so at the center of everything that's happening that you don't know what it is. And it's just, but then you come back from it, you come down off it or whatever, you forget about it, and then think back on it before you start trying to form views on it. But that's the same as with anything. This experience is like much, much different. I mean, it becomes that everything is that, but not at first. I mean, we're talking about a process that spans a decade at least. And so when you start hearing it in things, you imagine that things are kind of like a conduit for its expression. Now, how can that be possible? Well, because it's God. It's God, and with God, all things are possible. I mean, you got to think about this for a second. God is like the ultimate truth, the ultimate bearer of reality, the one who created it, the one who, you know, witnesses every single thing that happens everywhere. And so, back up for a second to a minute ago when I was talking about other people's experiences. You know, I had a friend who was obsessed with it. And he's the one I actually got the term it for. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have really known what it was when I experienced it. So that gave me a head off, and I knew what it was when I experienced it. I knew there was nothing visual, there was no faces, or there was no anything like that. But you know what it is, and then you remember, and then you're like, I can't believe this is this. Like, this is what it is. This is what I knew it was when I was a kid, or something like. And it like makes you okay because no matter what happens down here, like up there, it's, you know, just that, and that's there, and that's where it is. But the thing is, that's one angle of coming about it. That's one angle of approaching it, is to know that matter and energy are literally a conduit of expression for God. Another way of coming at it, to talk about it for purposes of talking about it, is people have spontaneous spiritual experiences, but when they describe them, they talk about things like angels and, voices and stuff like that. So I think there's a preconceived notion that a lot of people don't take that stuff seriously. But when it's something that is as real as this is, it's how can you not take it seriously? I mean, what I'm talking about changes you when you witness it because, like I said, you just remember. It's like you're being reunited with this thing. And it's like, what is it? And then, you think about it for years and then you finally realize that it's just God and that it's just you and then it's just the universe and then it's just life and reality and that's what it is. It becomes, you can be aware of it more. You can look out at things right now and see that it's happening and it's like the only thing that really matters. And so when you come about things from this angle, you see it as like the physical, world. But it expands past the physical world. It goes beyond the physical world. It goes into all dimensions that we can and can't perceive. And it's much more vast. We're getting like a small slice of it. And even the thing that I found might not even be the whole picture. I don't know. But it was definitely what my friend was talking about. And I've talked with other people about it. And, different people say generally the same thing, which is that it's the person themselves, or that it's God, or that it's the universe. I've talked with multiple different people, and so I guess the point is it should be the center focus of everybody's life. Because if you truly want to have a spiritual connection and feel like that stuff's real, you have to absolutely look for it and you have to see it for what, in the things. And then you have to think about those things. And then the more you think about it, the more you see it. And then it's just like, well, miracles happen, you know? Just the other day, and I'm not saying this was a miracle, but just yesterday or 2 days ago, I was thinking along these lines, and I'm like, well, if this is possible, then it's right here. And what do I see right then? I see this reflection coming off the sink that's like shooting off these beams of light that are just so freaking bright. And it's stuff like that, It's like when you think about how those are connected, you realize like it's always there though. It's just harder to see sometimes. And when you see it or hear it or whatever, it just makes things awesome, And there are these colors that exist that I don't talk about very often, but they just like, they're so rich and they can be in shapes of objects and stuff. They can be like holograms, like projected onto flat surfaces, or they can just be floating in your like screen of view, your field of vision or whatever. And they look like just like liquid marker color, but like richer, more so than any real color. And there are ones that are like orbs that just look like star or a planet from really far away that come and go. And then there are patterns in physical objects too that appear. And I've seen ones that were so intricate that I couldn't believe what I was looking at. And I've seen patterns in simple objects that would change. And in some cases, it would look like they were moving, but they weren't moving at the same time. And in some cases, it was like in the first second, it was this scenario. In the second, it was that scenario, and whatever. So basically, all kinds of wild things are happening. It's just we gotta focus our brains to it.